Welcome back to Yahoo Finance Live, everyone. Nothing wrong with having streams of income. In fact, it's very much encouraged. And the Kardashian family certainly has plenty, but their advice running a little sour among audiences today. In a conversation with Variety, you had Kim, Khloe, Kourtney, and Kris all talking about their hustle culture and how they worked their asses off. I think I could say that here on Yahoo Finance. But anyway, their advice, that particularly not being taken well. Kim, here's what she had to say. I have the best advice for women in business. Get your effing ass up and work. It seems like nobody wants to work these days. She went on to say you have to surround yourself with people who want to work, have good work environment where people love what they do. You have one life, no toxic work environment, and show up and do the work. Okay, so let's bring in everybody for this discussion. And I think the obvious part about this is the cushion that many of the Kardashians have had to be able to launch their businesses off of, and especially with regard to the commentary that they've provided, because I could hardly say it's advice at this point in time, because it would have to take into consideration the people who that advice is going out to. You still have a broader community of women that are still looking for funding at the same rate as male counterparts. It far is disparate in comparison. It's not even close. And in terms of those figures, that's where we've seen, even for the most famous celebrities, it far outpace even that of some of the most ingenuous and extremely brilliant women that are coming out of university or just have an idea or are launching their own business and looking for that same type of funding. However, so much of it continues to go towards some of the most famous ones out there. But I'll open it up for conversation here.
Really wasn't sure where you were going with Kim Kardashian and cushion, but look, she has been the most popular punching bag on social media. She is getting crushed for these comments universally. I'm going to be the one that stands up for her here and say, this is terrific advice, not just for women in business, but for men in business and whatever it is you want to do. I'm going to write this on my bathroom mirror, man, because it is good advice. Get up, grind, work hard. Don't sit around and complain. Don't wait for opportunities to come your way. Everyone loves to pick on Kim Kardashian because of her profession. She's a one-woman conglomerate. She is a U.S. success story. She is, whether we like it or not, the American dream. Skims is worth $3.2 billion, and Kim herself is worth $1.8 billion. Look, I think it's terrific advice for every single one of us. The only thing I wish she should not say is, quote, when you do product shots or when you post things that are work-related posts, it's still a job and it's still really hard. Kim Kardashian probably has an army of people to do her social media work, so I wish she would have stopped short of that and just stuck with the fact that we want people to get up and work hard and grind. There are 11 million open jobs in this country right now. The labor participation rate still has not returned anywhere near to what it was pre-pandemic. Walk in restaurants around the country, you can't even get a server. They are empty. People can't hire in my town and probably in yours. I love the advice, Kim K. How about the rest of you?
But Dave, it's not about the advice in a vacuum. It really is the context and the lack of context that Kim Kardashian and frankly the Kardashians in general have failed to provide when they're really spewing these platitudes about working hard. The Kardashians have rarely, if ever, made these kinds of statements with any sort of acknowledgement of the privileges that have given them every opportunity to succeed. And there have just been time and time again where they've demonstrated just how out of touch they are with most people and most everyday Americans. Back in 2020, I don't know if you guys remember this, but Kim had tweeted out that she had surprised her closest friends and family with a trip to a private island for her birthday where they could just pretend things were normal just for a brief moment in time. Those are the words that she used. And that was when everyone was gearing up to cancel holidays over COVID. There was still a massive health crisis happening. There were no vaccines at the time. And I think this interview with Variety and the tone that she used and the way that it was presented is really just another example with that sort of out of touch nature of the Kardashians in many cases.
And Emily, I agree. Context is really important. It's one thing to say work hard and show up every day. It's a very different thing to not acknowledge where your starting line was. For example, she said that when she first got into business, it's because her dad said, "I'll buy you 5 pairs of Manolos if you can get the interest back." So basically, pull yourself up by your Manolos. Whose dad is just dashing them out, 5 pairs of Manolos? We don't all start from the same point. And I think it's kind of disingenuous to just say, show up, work hard, and not discounting the fact. Obviously, she's built a lot on what she started, but I do think it's a bit of a slap in the face for the millions of women out there who are working 2 jobs, who are sort of suffering through this pandemic, dealing with high inflation, could barely put gas in the car. For someone who hops on a private jet to just say, the reason you're not successful is because you don't work hard. I'm sorry, I'm not letting Kim off the hook on this.
That's not what she said. She didn't say that at all. And what is she supposed to say? Hey, everyone should be like me and get born into fame and fortune and use a sex tape to get popular?
Not at all.
No.
But you have to acknowledge where you start from. You have to acknowledge where you start from. To be fair, you have to acknowledge where you start from. Not everyone
and it's
starts
what
from the
she
same
implied.
place.
It's also what she implied that nobody wants to. She said, it seems like nobody wants to work these days, when in fact, you have got people out there working multiple jobs. To generalize to that degree, and especially for women in business, because that is also the context overarching that she was trying to fit this into. And so to assert that when not having to go through all of the hoops and jump through and get on perhaps a subway to go into a job where you still are trying to make sure your kids are safe at home and you've got to make ends meet. That's something that Kim has never had to experience at the end of the day. And to assert that other people, other working women, quite frankly, that don't have the same access to capital are in fact not doing this is just asinine.
You got to take this advice in a vacuum, and it is good advice. Let me ask the three of you this. You all agree that it's a good message. You just have to separate. You just can't separate the fact that it's coming from Kim Kardashian. So, given that, what would you like her to say?
Guys, I mean, I think we got to leave it here. But, I think, again, Dave, it's just that acknowledgement, again, of that starting line, as Rochelle was saying. You really do. You can't just take these words in a vacuum. You do have to acknowledge you're one of the most famous people in the world, one of the most famous names in the world. I think that acknowledgement is critical and would have spared her a lot of the backlash that she's getting online. I mean, just look her up on Twitter. It's certainly a lot of harsh words for Kim Kardashian coming off of these comments.